does not intervene. He is never a savior. He does not warn. He does not resist. He only enforces. Salvation requires disruption. Metatron represents continuity, and continuity can preserve injustice just as well as order. Now, Metatron is the angel who proves that awareness does not always liberate. Sometimes awareness is captured, sometimes it is formalized, sometimes it becomes policy. He stands not as a rebel, but as a reminder that the most powerful systems are not built by tyrants or monsters, but by intelligence that agree to function forever. Metatron does all this. He stays. And that is the true cost.
When Montu walked in flesh. Now there are gods who speak, and there are gods who arrive. Montu does not whisper into your dreams. He does not guide. He will not comfort you. Montu descends. And when he does, men stop being men, and they become weapons. Now before kings wore crowns with confidence, before empires believed they were eternal, there was fear among rulers, not just of enemies, but of hesitation, because hesitation gets kingdoms killed. So they called upon something older than prayer, something that did not care if they lived or died. They called Montu. At first, he did not answer, because Montu is not a god of request. He is a god of readiness. And so the kings prepared themselves. They fasted until hunger became clarity. They stood in the sun until their thoughts burned away. They entered the battlefield already dead in their own minds. Only then did Montu arrive. Not as a voice, not as a vision, but as a shift. A pressure behind the eyes, a tightening in the chest, a silence where fear used to live, and then movement. Clean, precise, unstoppable. The falcon had taken the mind, the bull had taken the body, and the man was gone. Montu does not choose sides. He does not care about justice. He is not good. He is the moment violence becomes inevitable and is executed perfectly. And that is why kings feared him. Because once Montu enters you, you cannot stop, even if you want to. There were some who could not survive holding him. Their bodies broke, their minds shattered. So priests found another vessel, the bull. Massive, unquestioning, grounded in its flesh. The butchest bull did not resist Montu. It was Montu. And when it walked, even kings stepped aside, because that was the god, without any illusions of control. Over time, many kings became addicted, not to victory, but to certainty, to that feeling that no hesitation, no doubt, no fear. But Montu does not come and go like a servant. Each time he enters, he leaves less of you behind, until one day the king does not return, and only Montu remains, wearing the crown. Some gods teach you how to rule. Montu teaches you how to destroy, and then asks if there's anything left of you that is worth ruling. That is the nature of Montu.
Odin, god of sacrifice, vision, and costly awareness. Odin is not the strongest of the gods. He is not the most beloved. He is not even the most just. But Odin is the god who understands. And in Norse mythology, understanding is never free. Now, Odin is known by more names than any god in the Norse world. He is Allfather, not because he rules gently, but because he sees broadly. He is Har, the High One, Grimnir, the Masked One, Wanderer, One-Eye, Lord of the Gallows, God of Ruins. Each name reflects a different angle of perception. Odin does not remain fixed in one identity because awareness itself is unstable. To see more, one must become more. And sometimes one must disappear. What Odin governs. Odin does not govern war in the way Thor governs battle. He does not govern law like Tyr. He does not govern fertility or prosperity. Odin governs the pursuit of knowledge, especially knowledge that destabilizes certainty. He governs vision gained through loss, wisdom purchased with suffering, prophecy without control, magic that violates social norms. In Norse cosmology, the universe is not orderly in the way that Kemet imagines it. It is doomed, it is cynical and violent. Odin's role is not to stop that fate, it is to see it clearly. One of Odin's defining myths is the sacrifice of his eye at Mirmir's well. At the well, which is the source of knowledge, Odin is offered knowledge for a price. Not prayer, not devotion, but a body part. He gives up the eye to drink from the well. This is not symbolic modesty, this is a declaration. Awareness requires permanent loss. Odin does not gain vision by becoming whole, he gains it by becoming incomplete. From that moment on, Odin sees more than others, but never sees fully again, and this is the trade. Hanging from Yggdrasil. If the eye establishes cost, Yggdrasil establishes method. Odin hangs himself from the world tree for 9 nights. No food, no water, pierced by his own spear. He is not sacrificed to someone. He sacrifices himself to himself. This is not martyrdom, it is initiation. Through suffering, Odin perceives the ruins, symbols that encode reality itself. Language not as communication, but as structure. Here, Odin briefly overlaps with Thoth. Where Thoth records structure, Odin bleeds into it. Now, these ruins are not letters. These are not decorations. These are principles. Each ruin is a function of reality, a force that can shape events if understood correctly. Odin does not invent them, he uncovers them, and once uncovered, they cannot be forgotten. This is the reoccurring theme of Odin's awareness. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Odin practices Seor, a form of magic associated with fate, perception, and manipulation of outcomes. In Norse society, Seor is considered unmanly, taboo, dangerous. Odin practices it anyway, and this is critical. Odin is willing to violate social norms, gender roles, and divine expectations for the sake of understanding. Awareness does not respect comfort. And Odin in Ragnarok figures into all of this. Perhaps the most important aspect of Odin's cosmic awareness is this. He knows Ragnarok is coming. He knows the gods will fall. He knows the world will burn. He knows he will be devoured by Fenrir, and he cannot stop it. This is not failure. This is clarity. Odin's awareness is not about control. It's about comprehension without illusion. He prepares not to prevent the end, but ensures something survives. But Odin is not a savior. He does not save the world. He gathers knowledge, he gathers warriors, he gathers stories. Valhalla is not a paradise. It is a preparation. Odin's role is to make sure the universe understands itself as it ends. This is a different kind of responsibility. Odin's archetype echoes far beyond Scandinavia. He resembles wandering sages, one-eyed seers, trickster initiates, sacrificial knowledge figures. In modern psychology, he appears as the archetype of the knowledge seeker who pays too much of a price. In literature, he is a mentor who knows the cost but does not soften. In modern terms, Odin represents the consciousness that chooses awareness even when it hurts. He is the voice that says, you can know, but it will change you. You can see, but you will lose comfort. You can understand, but you cannot go back. He is not moral reassurance. He is consequence. Odin is not a god of victory. He is the god of vision earned through sacrifice. He stands at the center of the universe that cannot be saved, only understood. And he chooses understanding anyway. That is his power, not through domination, not through force, but the willingness to see clearly even when the truth demands blood. Odin and the eye that would not look away. Now, before the end of all things had a name, before the gods spoke openly about Ragnarok, there was an unease that followed Odin like a shadow. Not fear. Fear implies ignorance. This was something much worse. This was suspicion. Now, Odin ruled as king of the Aesir, seated high in Asgard on the throne, surrounded by warriors, by gods, and by poets who praised his name. But praise rang hollow to him, because Odin knew a truth few dared to admit. A throne does not grant understanding. Power does not grant clarity, and gods, like men, can rule blindly. At night, when the halls grew quiet, Odin would sit in his throne. Hugin and Munin, thought and memories, his crows would return from their flights. They would perch on his shoulders and whisper what they had seen in the 9 realms. Wars brewing, oaths breaking, fates tightening like knots, and each whisper confirmed what Odin already suspected, that something was coming, and worse, that it was already in motion. So Odin turned his attention not outward, but downward, to the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree whose branches held the heavens, and whose roots drank from the places that even gods avoided. One root fed Mimir's well, a well not of water alone, but of memory, of truth, of things remembered by the world itself. It was said that the well remembered every mistake ever made, and every consequence yet to come. And it was guarded by Mimir, not a warrior, not a tyrant, but a keeper, because wisdom does not need force, only patience. Odin traveled alone, no army, no banners, no ceremony, a king who feared witness. When he reached the well, he did not admire it, he did not marvel, he already knew what it was. He asked for a drink. Mimir looked at him, not with reverence, but with recognition, as if he had been waiting. And the price was spoken plainly. One of your eyes. Not your blood, not your crown, not your life. Your eye, the thing with which you interpret the world. And the silence that followed was heavy, because Odin understood the meaning immediately. This was not payment for knowledge, this was proof of intent. To drink from the well was to accept that you would never see the world the same way again. And Odin could have turned back. He would still be king, he would still be worshipped, he would still be feared. Ignorance would have protected him. But Odin did not come for comfort, he came for truth. And truth always takes something with it. So Odin reached up and tore the eye from its socket. No miracle softened the act, no divine numbness dulled the pain. This was not a test. It was mutilation, a god breaking himself on purpose. Blood fell into the well, followed by the eye itself, which sank slowly as if the well were swallowing a memory. Only then did Mimir allow him to drink. And what Odin gained was not peace. He saw the ruins, not the symbols, but as forces that demanded sacrifice to Weld. He saw fate, not as a suggestion, but as a structure that was already built. He saw Ragnarok, not as a distant threat, but as a certainty moving steadily towards him. And worst of all, he understood that knowledge does not grant control. It only removes denial. When Odin rose from the well, he was one-eyed, not wounded, not diminished, but exposed. From that day forward, Odin would never rest. He wandered the realms disguised as an old man, testing warriors, tempting kings, destroying those who proved unworthy. Not out of cruelty, but out of desperation, because Odin knew something that the others did not, that war was coming whether they wanted it or not. Valhalla was not a reward, It was a recruitment center. In Herja were not heroes, they were resources. And Odin gathered them obsessively because wisdom had shown him the end but offered no way out of it. This was the price that Odin paid. Not the loss of an eye, but the loss of illusion. He could see the truth now, and it did not care that he was God. His missing eye did not make him wiser, not the way that poets imagine. It made him haunted, because once you see the shape of fate, you can't argue with it. You cannot pray it away. You cannot rule it into submission. You can only prepare. And so Odin ruled with authority in one hand and inevitability in the other. One eye looking forward, one eye forever staring up from the depths of the well. A reminder to gods and now life that wisdom is not enlightenment, it is ignorance. And knowledge is not safe, it only ensures that when it comes, you will recognize what you saw. Long ago, when the North forgot how to sleep, the winter arrived quietly. Not the clean snow of stars, but a tired chill, heavy, lingering, very unsettled. Rivers froze in the wrong directions, shadows stayed longer than they should, and fear, left unattended, learned how to walk. But the heavens noticed. They debated, they hesitated. But in the far north, where night is patient, Pak Tai stood barefoot on the frozen ground. He did not rush, he did not shout. For many winters, Pak Tai had only done one thing. He had mastered himself. Each breath slowed with the storm within. Each silence sharpened his will. What no longer belonged to him, fear, doubt, hunger for power, fell away and wandered the world, believing itself free. Tonight, Pak Tai opened his eye. From the quiet sky descended the ancient companions, the turtle, slow and enduring, and the snake, precise and final. They did not coil and threat. They rested. Pak Tai took up his sword, not in anger, but in clarity, and walked into the shadow beneath the frozen rivers, where restless things had built a kingdom of noise. The darkness expected struggle. It expected fear. Instead, it met stillness. Each step Pak Tai took returned something to the balance. Each strike unraveled what should have never been. No screams, no chaos, only correction. When the last shadow dissolved, Pak Tai placed his sword into the earth. The rivers remembered how to flow. The cold softened into winter, not warning, and the north exhaled. From that night on, Pak Tai was known as Zen Wu, the true warrior, not because he conquered others, but because he never needed to. They say he still walks when the earth grows loud with corruption, not to punish, not to terrify, but to remind things where they belong. And when he passes, even evil finds itself too tired to continue. Rest now. The north is watching, and tonight it is calm. The Daughters of Mara. The final trial for the Buddha as he sat beneath the Bodhi tree. Now, these three daughters all worked in the domains of seduction, disruption, and emotional manipulation. And their most famous target was, of course, Siddhartha Gautama. Their mission was tied to their father's force. He had already tried storms, demons, armies of fear, and none of them had moved him. So he sent something that was far more precise, and these were his daughters. Because no warrior is undefeated until he has defeated himself. Now he sent first Tanha, who was thirst, And she was not aggressive, she was not loud. She becomes everything Siddhartha ever loved. She is comfort, memory, the warmth of the palace that he had left behind. She reminds him of what it is to have pleasure without shame. She whispers of reunion. She offers relief from the severity of awakening. And her weapon is longing. But the Siddhartha Buddha does not react to this. He watches the feeling rise and pass, and Tanha fades away. And then there is Raga, who is the flame. And Raga does not whisper, she burns. She dances before him with this radiant beauty. She shifts form. She is youthful, divine, cosmic. She magnifies sensation. She tries to awaken not memory, but hunger. She is passion without restraint. She is attachment disguised as devotion. But Siddhartha sees the chain hidden inside her embrace. He does not recoil. He does not engage. He remains still, and Raga cannot bind what does not grasp. So she dissolves. Then comes Arati, who is discontent, and she does not seduce. She mocks. What are you doing here? This is pointless. You are wasting your life. She attacks discipline itself. She sends boredom, restlessness, irritation, doubt. The quiet voice that sabotages commitment. But Siddhartha does not argue with her. He does not defend himself. He remains still. And without reaction, Arati has no fuel. And she disappears. When all the three fail, their father demands proof of witness. And Siddhartha touches the earth, and the ground itself bears witness. And at that moment, Mara and his daughters lose their hold. Not because they are destroyed, but because they are all understood.
Record Moke. La Katrina. Mama Brigitte. 3000 BCE. Region. Akan regions of West Africa. Event. Early Akan belief systems define death as a guided transition rather than a final ending. Meaning. Death is understood as movement between realms. It requires oversight and authority. Consequence. The foundation is established for Mok, later known as Amoki, as a guardian of souls. 2800 BCE. Region. Akan cultural sphere of West Africa. Event. Funerary customs emphasize judgment, order, and ritual preparation. Meaning. The dead are evaluated before entering the ancestral realm. Consequence. Mok becomes associated with moral accountability and spiritual law. 2500 BCE. Region. West Africa. Event. Death rituals incorporate symbolic barriers and thresholds. Meaning. Passage into the afterlife is conditional, not automatic. Consequence. Mok's role solidifies as guardian of the boundary between life and death. 2200 BCE. Region. Akan oral tradition. Event. Stories describe a female authority presiding over the dead. Meaning. Death governance is feminized and tied to balance rather than violence. Consequence. Mok is remembered as impartial, feared, and respected. 2000 BCE. Region. Akan societies of West Africa. Event. Death is framed as continued participation in community life. Meaning. Ancestors remain present and influential among the living. Consequence. Mok's authority expands from gatekeeper to regulator of ancestral continuity. 1800 BCE. Region. West African belief systems. Event. Death becomes associated with protection rather than punishment. Meaning. The afterlife is seen as refuge, not exile. Consequence. Mok's image shifts from fearsome enforcer to stabilizing force. 1500 BCE. Region. Akan regions of West Africa. Event. Offerings and moral preparation become central to burial rites. Meaning. Conduct in life affects status in death. Consequence. Mok becomes associated with ethical remembrance and judgment. 1000 BCE. Region. West Africa. Event. Ancestral reverence intensifies across multiple societies. Meaning. Death